provisional cast on is the method that keeps live stitches so they can be knit later. There are different methods. The one that I'm going to show you today, I'm going to use a spare cable with stoppers. I'm using Chegu's spare cable and needles and Haya stoppers. They're just cute, and they fit Chegu needles, so I like to use them. So if you put stoppers on, it will assure you that the live stitches will be kept on and accidentally they're just not gonna fall off. And it's easy to keep them on the needle because after that I can just remove stoppers, place the needle points onto the cable and knit in the opposite direction with the live stitches already ready to go, so you don't have to transfer them as with any other method. What I'm gonna do is, so I have a little piece of yarn. I have my needles that I will be casting stitches on, and I have a cable ready to go. First thing, what I need to do is make a slip knot and place the slip knot on the needle. So here it goes. And secure it on a needle. Now position the just take your cable and place it right under the needle, and this is what we're gonna do and how we're gonna cast on stitches onto the needle and onto the cable. Holding the cable below the needle, and also hold on to the free end of the yarn and the working yarn in your left hand, I'm gonna begin casting on. For this, you're gonna take your needle, bring it under the cable. Between the yarn and the cable is your needle. We're gonna grab onto the yarn and bring it over the cable and recast on one stitch on your needle. Now bring the needle below the yarn, wrap it around. That's the second stitch, or the third in our case because we have a slip knot here. Again, take the needle, bring it below the cable, wrap the yarn around the needle and bring it over the cable. Take the needle under the yarn, wrap the yarn over the needle, take the needle below the cable, grab the yarn and bring it upwards over the cable. Bring the needle under the yarn, wrap the yarn around, bring the needle below the cable. Now the needle is between the cable and the yarn. Grab onto the yarn and bring it over the cable up. One more time. Go below yarn, wrap the yarn around the needle, bring the needle below the cable, between the cable and the yarn, grab onto the yarn or wrap the yarn around the needle and bring it around the cable up. Yarn over the needle. Needle goes between the cable and the yarn, wrapping the yarn around the needle and bringing it around the cable up. So now we cast on a couple of stitches. I'm gonna turn my work and knit this first row. So now you can see these live stitches right here on this spare cable with the stoppers, and we're gonna make the first knit row and knit every stitch on the needles. And you try not to twist the stitches and go between the left and the right leg of the stitch. You can twist them by knitting them into the back stitch. See, the stitch becomes twisted, or you can just knit it in between both legs of the stitch like that. Do it like that because when it's twisted, it just becomes a little awkward. So when the stitch is spread apart like that, instead of going into the front leg and twisting the stitch, go into the stitch like that and knit the next stitch. So whether it's the back leg or front leg, just as long as they're spread out on the cable, just grab onto that one and knit it. And what it will do, it will separate the stitches at the bottom, and they're not going to be twisted. They're going to be positioned properly for you to pick up and start working on the stitches on the spare cable. So keep going and knitting that first row. Without twisting the stitches. And after this row will be finished, you're basically ready to work on your project. And the last stitch. And this is what it looks like. And this is a convenient method of already having the stitches on the cable. You don't need to bother to transfer it anywhere. All you have to do is take the stoppers off, place the tips on the cable, and start knitting in the opposite direction. So, provisional cast on.